You could see it in his face, the kind of honesty that lands somewhere between brutal and refreshingly blunt. Baker Mayfield didn't hide behind platitudes after the Buccaneers' 31-25 loss to the Eagles. He said what everyone felt in the stands and saw on the scoreboard. They didn't start fast. They got punched in the mouth, and that first half killed them. That line, "We were just kind of lifeless to begin with in the first half," is a small sentence with a big sting. It's the kind of confession that makes a loss hurt even more, because it admits the obvious. This one wasn't just lost by the better team, it was lost by a team that shortchanged itself. Let's unpack why Mayfield's comments matter, not just for the Bucs' record, but for tone, trust, and trajectory. He's not the guy who sugarcoats. That's part of his brand, part accountability, part leadership. When Baker says, "We were lifeless," he's calling out an entire offense that produced 99 yards in the first half and converted only 1 of 7 third downs. That stat line alone explains the scoreboard, but the language? That's the leader holding the mirror up. For a veteran quarterback with a history of rallying teams, that's an alarm bell and a challenge all at once. Start with the mechanics of the game. When your offense can't move the ball, you give the other team short fields, you put more pressure on your defense, and you force yourself into making desperate decisions. The Bucs did not only fail to score early, they gifted momentum to the Eagles by stalling, by failing to convert manageable downs, and by letting Philadelphia dictate terms. Against a squad like the Eagles, you can't hand them easy possessions and expect to outduel them in the fourth quarter. That's on preparation, execution, and a collective unwillingness to match physicality and urgency early. But Mayfield's admission is deeper than X's and O's. "We got punched in the mouth" is a metaphor, but it also describes an emotional state. Games have rhythms. Some teams are ready to brawl from kickoff. Other clubs take time to find their feet. The most dangerous thing is when you plan to be the former but show up like the latter. That creates a cognitive dissonance in the locker room. Players wondering why they aren't performing the way they practiced. Coaches chasing answers. Fans growing impatient. Mayfield owning that moment is useful because it prevents excuses, but it also amps pressure on coaching to fix the start-to-game script that now looks broken. There's also the pattern problem. The Bucs' identity this season has been a little schizophrenic. Flashes of competence, flashes of confusion. When a veteran QB calls out "lifeless," it's a signal that the team's baseline isn't stable. For coaches, that's worse than one bad half. It's the beginning of a theme. Opponents don't need to watch tape for complex tendencies. They just need to plan to punch early, knowing the Bucs sometimes forget to throw the first punch back. And if opponents start betting on your slow starts, the margins for comebacks shrink fast. Now let's talk accountability versus morale. Mayfield's brutal honesty is leadership, but there's a balance. In the postgame environment, candor can spark a locker room reboot. The truth can rally people, or it can feed a spiral if players feel publicly scolded. The tone matters. Baker's comments didn't sound like finger-pointing at any single teammate. He framed it as a team issue. That matters because when the QB's critique is collective, it invites collective ownership. If it had been, "They were better than X," or "Y didn't show up," we'd be in different chaos. As it stands, this is a leadership pivot. He's saying, "We let it happen. We'll fix it together." So what does fixing it look like? First, the fundamentals. Better third down execution, cleaner pass protection, and sharper situational play calling. Those are tactical boxes coaches will check. But you also need the intangible, intensity from kickoff. That's practice planning, simulating fast starts, making the first drive the non-negotiable. And it's psychology, pregame routines that ensure every player's adrenaline is calibrated, not lagging. Baker's message should be the spark for that internal recalibration. The next few practices and the next game will reveal if the team heard him. We should also consider the opponents. The Eagles are elite and punish teams that stumble. Saying we can't expect to beat teams of that caliber when we start slow is not a defeatist wail. It's a tactical admission. It highlights the league's truth. Against top-tier teams, the margin for error vanishes. If the Bucs want to be more than a spoiler, they must set different standards against the league's best, starting with kickoff intensity, coaching adjustments, and situational toughness. Now, a coach's perspective. Head coach Todd Bowles' response: "We've always got fight. We just have to clean up mistakes," signals trust in the group, but also acknowledges a recurring problem. That's a pragmatic combination. Coaches need to sidestep overreaction. Benching starters after one bad half or blowing up game plans rarely helps. Instead, Bowles must translate Baker's candidness into specific, measurable fixes: red zone script adjustments, protection tweaks, and a renewed emphasis on explosive plays early. The biggest risk is normalizing lifeless starts. The remedy? Make ready the standard, not the aspiration. And what about the fans? Mayfield's honesty resonates with the fan base, especially those tired of euphemisms. Fans love accountability, they also want results. This statement raises expectations for improvement, and that's a double-edged sword. It buys credibility in the short term, but increases scrutiny if the same issues reemerge. The next game will be a referendum on whether this was a one-off or the start of a course correction. Finally, let's talk narrative. The beauty of sports is the arc. A candid post-game assessment can be the inflection point that changes a season's story. Baker Mayfield's words are small and raw, but they might function like a lightning strike in a storm, painful in the moment, but clarifying afterward. If the Bucs respond with sharper starts and cleaner execution, this interview will be remembered as the necessary blunt instrument that fixed a problem. If they don't, it will be a painful clip replayed by critics. Bottom line, Mayfield's confession hurts because it's honest, and honesty cuts deeper than excuses. But it also gives the Bucs something valuable: clarity. They know the problem. The real test now is whether they act on it. Games are won in the moments you refuse to be lifeless. If the Bucs truly want to be dangerous this season, they'll treat this loss like a wake-up call, not a resignation. And if they can't, then lifeless will be the three-word phrase that explains far more than anyone ever wanted it to. Baker Mayfield didn't sugarcoat it after the Buccaneers' 31-25 loss to the Eagles, and his blunt honesty made the defeat sting even more. In the locker room, Mayfield owned the team's sluggish start, saying the offense was lifeless in the first half and that Tampa Bay got punched in the mouth. That description was hard to argue with. The Bucs managed just 99 yards and converted one of 7 third downs before the break, a performance that put them in an 18-point hole against one of the league's elite teams. What's striking about Mayfield's remarks is how they reveal the difference between accountability and helplessness. He didn't make excuses. He acknowledged the plan to start fast and admitted the team failed to execute. That matters because it signals leadership and a willingness to face problems candidly. But it also highlights the gap between good intentions and execution. With veterans like Chris Godwin Jr. and Tristan Wirfs back in the lineup, the expectation was that the offense would be sharper. Instead, Tampa Bay looked flat at the moments that demanded urgency. From a schematic perspective, the Buccaneers struggled to sustain drives. Short yardage third downs became third and long as the first half drives stalled. Protection breakdowns and missed assignments made it difficult for Mayfield to develop rhythm. When a team can't sustain a series, it puts pressure on the defense and the special teams. And that's exactly what happened. Philadelphia's defense forced turnovers and capitalized on field position, while Tampa Bay fought uphill the rest of the game. Mentally, the Bucs need to rediscover the urgency Mayfield referenced. He's right. Teams with the talent on Tampa Bay's roster can't afford to wait until they're knocked to their knees before responding. Head coach Todd Bowles echoed that sentiment, pointing to the need to cut down mistakes and clean up details. The challenge will be translating that message into consistent execution, especially on the road in hostile environments like next week's trip to Seattle. There are some takeaways that should offer cautious optimism. The Buccaneers showed fight in the second half, and McLaughlin's 65-yard field goal was a reminder of their ability to make big plays. But talent alone won't compensate for halftime apologies. The real test is whether Mayfield's blunt post-game assessment sparks immediate, visible change: fewer pre-snap mistakes, better third down efficiency, and a sharper, more engaged opening 30 minutes. If Tampa Bay responds, this loss will look like a wake-up call. If they don't, it could be the start of a pattern. Mayfield's honesty put the problem on the table. Now the Bucs have to fix it before the next opponent makes them pay again.